Can a video game really predict flooding? How does City Skylines stack up against real flood models? Flooding is one of the most significant natural hazards facing societies worldwide. Swiss Re, a reinsurer, which is a company that insures insurance companies, yes, that's a thing. Who insures the reinsurers? Then who insures them? And who insures them? Swiss Re estimated that global damages from flooding amounted to $82 billion in 2022, a third of all damages resulting from natural hazards. Without models, this could have been worse. Numerical models play a key role in helping us predict when flooding might happen through real-time forecasting based on weather observations, and also planning for it by estimating how bad future flooding might be and assessing different ways to protect and prepare ourselves from it. In a previous video, I played City Skylines and tried to make a flood within the game, and found that you could make a flood which looked realistic. But was it really realistic, and how does it stack up against our numerical models? We use chains of connected models to predict flooding and to make decisions. These chains help us take information from the environment, like observed weather data, and turn that into information that helps someone make a decision. For example, to issue a flood warning if they're forecasting, or know how high to build a flood wall if they're planning. So a simple model chain might look like this. So we start with the weather observations, and we use these within a model of the Earth's atmosphere to make a forecast, looking maybe a few hours or a few days ahead. For some types of flooding, like surface water, this might be enough information to issue a warning if the storms are predicted to be particularly intense. To predict flooding from rivers, we need to know how the rainfall will flow through a river catchment. How much of that water is going to go into the ground? How quickly does the rest of it make it into the river? And things like this. And for this we need to use models of hydrology. There are many different types of hydrological models, and they each translate that weather data or the forecasts into predictions of river flows, either in volumes over time or into river levels, which is the height of the water. Here again, this might be enough information for a decision maker. If predicted river levels are higher than the flood walls, that suggests flooding is likely. If we need to know where flooding might happen, there is another link in the chain. We can take those flows and the levels provided by the hydrology models and put them into a hydraulic model or an inundation model. These simulate how water moves over the landscape, and they will show the timings, the depths and the extents of flooding that might happen. Another step will tell us how bad flooding might be by using a simple economic model. A house flooded for this amount of time will cost the economy this amount of money. And this helps us decide between different flood defence schemes by showing which will offer the best value. Okay, this chain is very simplified, and the way we put these chains together will vary between who is making a decision, and most often they will consider other factors beyond purely the economics of the flooding. But it does give us an idea of how we put models together to understand flooding. Now let's look at how I model flooding in City Skylines. The model chain in the game starts with the hydraulic model. We have no weather data, no atmospheric model to make a forecast from, and no hydrology to translate that into flows and levels. It just uses a single, steady input of water. I crudely replicated the hydrology stage by adding an extra water emitter into the game to increase the flow within the river. The effect was similar to a storm dumping lots of water into the uplands of a river catchment. The hydraulic model in the game simulates where that extra water went. There was too much of it to be contained within the river, so it spilled out onto the land either side, including into the city of West Valley. Here's where it got really interesting, because that water began to interact with another model, or rather a set of models. In science we call them agent-based models, or ABMs, and they simulate the behaviour of individual things, the agents, based on a set of rules. Across these models, these agents range from individual water droplets in flows which is a very complex way to simulate water movement, to modelling the behaviours of animals and even humans. City Skylines uses ABMs to move citizens around, allowing them to act as individuals and make decisions on where to work or go to school, whether to take the car or public transport, and to respond to shocks like flooding. The way the hydraulic model and the ABMs connect in the game is not in a chain, as they operate together and provide dynamic feedback to each other. When models work together like this, we call them integrated. The integrated hydraulic ABM system showed how the city responded to the flooding, with the transport routes being cut off and services breaking down as a result. This led to declines across the city, not just where the flooding happened. On the face of it, the integrated hydraulic ABM system used by City Skylines seems very informative. Surely, if only we could bolt on the earlier steps in the model chain, we'd have a really powerful tool to help us forecast and plan for flooding. Such an integrated modelling system could show us not just the physical harms of flooding, but also the social consequences. Research shows that for every person directly impacted by flooding, a further 16 people are impacted by the disruption it causes to services. We currently cannot predict this within our model chains, but it seems like City Skylines probably could. So is City Skylines a better flood model than the model chains that we use? Why don't you let me know what you think by putting a comment below, and then if you join me in part 2, I'll give you what I think is the answer. Thank you for viewing my video. Please do click like and please do subscribe to the channel. I really want to grow this channel and I want to reach new audiences, and these really simple acts only take 2 seconds and help me make friends with YouTube's algorithm. The buttons are just there, it'll just take 2 seconds. But until part 2, stay dry out there.